Some may find comfort in the fact that the curve has been flattened, and by all predictions, the U.S. reached its peak day this past Saturday, and Kansas will soon reach its peak day on April 27th. Locally, unfortunately, the City Administration Center, Senior Center, and community buildings are closed to the public, but the police department is still patrolling our streets. They're responding to calls and providing assistance when needed. The Public Works Department is maintaining our water and sewer system, patching potholes and making street repairs where needed, and maintaining our parks. Finance, planning, and administration personnel are processing work orders, applications for services, permits, and paying the city's bills, as well as ensuring our employees are paid. For a closer look at each department, I'll start with the police department. As you know, they have a total of 17 officers assigned. 3 positions remain unfilled. 1 is on extended medical leave, and 1 is still completing field training, meaning that they can and have been maintaining adequate coverage of at least 2 patrol officers for each shift, but not without utilizing overtime when there is an absence. They've implemented plans for the department to reduce possible exposure to our officers by taking minor police reports by phone rather than in person, by having them wear gloves and masks when they believe that they may not be able to maintain proper social distancing, and by having those arrested wear masks until they are released to the detention center, and in some situations, such as an unattended death, wearing a full Tyvek suit in addition to their regular personal protective equipment. The department currently has an adequate supply of N95 masks and medical gloves, as well as cleaning and hygiene products such as alcohol hand sanitizer and sanitizing wipes. They are, however, limited on Tyvek suits, face shields, and household sanitizing sprays such as Lysol. They have been in continuous contact with Sedgwick County Emergency Management regarding personal protective equipment, or PPE, and they have been able to order and receive smaller amounts. But because of the increased protocols, there is a risk of their supplies being depleted more quickly. As far as the police department facility itself and our patrol vehicles, the department has hired a local commercial company to clean and sanitize each of those if they become contaminated, as well as the police department personnel are sanitizing each and every day. The department remains abreast of the rapidly changing situation by participating in daily phone conferences with Sedgwick County's Emergency Management and the Department of Health, plus a weekly phone conference with the sheriff and all the other local chiefs of police. And finally, both Chief and Captain Capps have been in meetings with the Valley Center Police Department to work on and further refine the plan for a points of dispensing agreement with Valley Center. As far as our Public Works Department, they have a total of 12 employees assigned with 0 absences. Being health and wellness minded, they too are practicing social distancing in all their activities, as well as offering the employees an option to wear a mask on the job. Their recent accomplishments or updates include, first of all, the 61st Street Bridge project. It is on schedule, with decking being placed by the end of the month. As far as Jardine Park, we were able to finally obtain the corner clip of the property adjacent to the proposed southern entrance, and just recently completed installing a fence on that property this past weekend. The Broadway lift station is still on temporary bypass and is being monitored daily. The contractor is on work on coordinating the concrete cutting to enlarge the wet well and allow the installation of the new components. The Primrose lift station has a faulty check valve currently, and that is in work being replaced. So it is operating on 1 pump and is also being monitored daily. The new grader that council approved a couple weeks ago is operating perfectly, and the streets department recently completed grading of all the city dirt roads. In addition, they have been cleaning drainage ditch catch basins, repairing potholes, grading street signage, transporting commodities, and started their annual mowing and spraying efforts. The Parks Department recently rebuilt the Osage Trail Park gazebo roof and has started fertilizing around City Hall and Grove Park areas. They are also in the process of ordering and/or replacing a slide at both McLean and Poston Park, as well as installing a new expression swing. The water department has installed 5 new meters while keeping up with their service orders and their line locates. And finally, the maintenance department recently completed some repairs to the senior center bus, did preventative maintenance on all the mowers for the season, and has switched over the HVAC systems from winter to summer for all the city buildings. Public Works knows that many of our residents staying and working at home, that many household chores, including yard work and landscape maintenance, are getting done. As such, they saw no reason to cancel or postpone the city's semi-annual Brush and Tree Limb Day. So this coming weekend, April 18th, they will be holding a contactless Brush and Tree Limb Day at McLean Park from 8 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m., where they'll be implementing procedures, whereas the residents will be asked to stay in their cars or their vehicles or their trucks, and our staff will go ahead and do all the unloading for them. Finally, Public Works would like to remind all of our citizens not to flush wipes, paper towels, or facial tissues down the toilets. Regardless if they say flushable, they shouldn't be, and they wreak havoc on our sewer system pumps. As far as the finance, planning, and administrative departments, they continue to perform all typical functions apart from meeting with our citizens in person. Most have been able to telework from home the majority of the time, and when they have needed to come in, we've been able to schedule it to avoid groups of more than 2 or 3 at any time. As far as our finances, to date, all COVID-related invoices spent on the town's behalf have totaled just under $10,000 at $9,735. Staff is hopeful that the city will be able to seek reimbursement of some or all these costs, either through FEMA or other federal funding allocated to the state under the CARES Act. Unfortunately, municipalities are not eligible for the federal credits that are provided to businesses for payroll costs for emergency sick leave and/or emergency FMLA. But the city does not have to pay the 6.2% employer share of Social Security tax on those payroll amounts currently. So far, the city has not been highly impacted financially by the coronavirus yet. Our largest revenue streams in the general fund will not feel the full impact for a couple months, and some of the specific areas that will be impacted include first of all, the sales tax. In 2018 and 2019, the city received sales tax just over $1.3 and $1.4 million respectively. The January through March 2020 collections did see approximately $26,000 higher than the same time frame as last year. However, there is nearly a 2-month delay from the month most businesses collect sales tax to when the city receives it from the state. So the impact will likely be reflected somewhat in our May collections and then much more so in June. The 2020 adopted budget projected $1.3 million in sales tax for this year. As far as property tax, it is highly likely Sedgwick County will see a reduction in the May ad valorem tax collections. The city's share is due from the county on June 5th, so again, it'll be a while before we know the impact to Park City. When it comes to franchise taxes, in 2018 and 19, the city received franchise tax receipts of just over $700,000 each year. One of the governor's recent executive orders suspended utility companies from disconnecting services for non-payment. Many of these companies have also opted to waive late fees. The fear is that by delaying collection and eliminating disconnect fees, some or many of the accounts may never be collected. Additionally, the city did receive a notice from Evergy cautioning that although there will likely be an increase in home usage with more people staying at home, there will also be a temporary loss in load from manufacturers and large power users that will be a financial detriment to the city. In most cases, the revenue received by the city is the utilities company's prior month's sales. The city's April franchise payment for utility companies will not be known until later this month. So again, the impact will not be known yet. As far as the gas tax, the city receives approximately $300,000 annually in gas tax revenue. As many businesses are closed and people are staying home, there should also be a reduction in that revenue as well. In regards to our transit guest tax, in 2018 and 19, the city received transit guest tax revenue of approximately $235,000 and $259,000 respectively. While hotels and motels are considered essential business under the governor's order, travel is down and will cause a reduction in this revenue. Of note, businesses may remit their transit guest tax collections to the state on either a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, and then the state remits the revenue to the cities on a quarterly basis. So again, it may be some time before the city realizes the reduction in this revenue. As far as interest revenue, this one hurts. In 2019, the city received interest income just under $250,000. But now the interest earnings have reduced nearly to nothing. The interest rate on the city's KMIP account dropped from 1.25% interest back on March 3rd, just 6 weeks ago, to where it now remains currently at 0.001%. In other words, that means the earnings on our balance of our $14.8 million account has dropped from $456 a day to 40 cents a day, a reduction from $13,700 a month to $12 a month. So that's an impact. And finally, in regards to our water, sewer, trash, and stormwater fees, the city is not currently disconnecting services due to non-payment, nor are we assessing any penalties. This created a delay in receiving payments and is causing a reduction in revenue generated related to penalties and turnoff fees. As an example, in a typical month, there are generally between 30 and 45 meters turned off for non-payment. However, as of April's turnoff date, just a couple days ago, there were 178 unpaid accounts. Again, our fear is that once everything returns to normal, it will be difficult for many residents to bring their accounts back to a current status, even over some time, or that some of the accounts will never be collected. That is the current status of our city and our staff. Our employees are dedicated professionals who are holding up extremely well, and I applaud each one of them for the job they do. The city is fully operational with only minor distractions from our normal mode of operation. And although we are unable to determine the full extent or the impact of COVID will have on the city at this time, we continue to make plans and implement strategies to help mitigate or lessen the burden to our citizens during this crisis and return to normal as soon as possible. And Mayor, I'll answer any questions you may have, sir.
And thank you, Sean. Does anybody have any questions for Sean? Okay. I'm not seeing any, and Sean, I want to make sure I thank you and the staff. While many people think during a time like this and they're working from home that maybe they're not doing as much, and that's totally opposite. Usually you find your workload doubled or tripled from what you normally do because you don't have the comforts and conveniences of being in your own office to be able to do your daily task, and it takes you twice as long to do what you need to get done. The staff and you have done an outstanding job during this difficult time, and I want to let you know I appreciate everything everyone is doing. It's been a true team effort. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Ben?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
And John?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion passes 8-0. This was the point of this meeting, was to get together, test our technology out a little bit more this evening, and really provide not only you as council members, but also citizens of the Park City where we stand as a city. I know a lot of people have heard things going on at county levels in different cities and furloughs and what's going on. And I think it's important that we will be able to meet this evening and share our status of where we're at There's still a lot of unknowns, as Sean brought up, especially when we talk about revenue. And as that starts to come in, to really see where the impacts are. So we'll be providing some more updates as we work through this. With that, we'll move on to governing body reports, and I'll start with Jim.
I don't have anything to report tonight.
Brandy?
I don't have anything tonight.
George?
Well, the only thing I could say, there's always a silver lining. As I sit here at home, I can see the nation turning back to God, and that is a good thing. We need to trust in the Lord. Everybody stay safe.
All right. Thank you. Tom?
I've got one thing I wanted to add.
Tom, I think, can you turn the volume up on your?
He's muted.
Hang on.
Okay. Couple of meetings ago, I made a comment about the national planning codes, and we kind of sidetracked that. And I went back and looked at it right after that meeting. Talked to the mayor a couple weeks ago about it. What's happening in other states is they're approving that as it's been submitted, and then using home rule to write out of some of the things that are under it. And that's probably the way we ought to approach that in the future. I'll bring that back, but I just wanted to let you know I didn't drop the ball, and I have looked at it. So that's all I got.
Okay. Melvin?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Ben?
Sure. I just want to echo what you said and what Sean presented here. Just thank you to our city staff. You all are doing an incredible job working in this. I know you all have a lot of stress and pressure put on you, managing the day-to-day, dealing with the stress of also fear of such as our public works and police officers, as far as being in those situations where there's hazards included. So thank you all very, very much for all that you're doing, and we're praying for you. Stay safe.
Okay. George?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Sean and his team for the work that he's done with the city. Again, this is something that we didn't plan for, but it's happened, and I know that God is with us through this. I'd just like to say that being at home, I've got to know my wife better, and also my family members as well. So spending time with them during this time has been a positive thing. So I just thank the Lord for that and being able to do that. So on a lighter note, there is toilet paper now in Park City. Thank you.
John?
So, yes, Sean, I want to tell you thanks for the report. That was very detailed and gives us and the citizens a good idea of what's going on. Question I had, and Brandy may have some input on this too. I'm just curious, like, as we've talked about, like the anticipation of property taxes being delayed in some situations, do we have a way of knowing like how many houses or how many properties that pay their property taxes are done through an escrow to where it would not affect our income at some point? Or, I mean, I know that our house is pretty well mixed with newer homes versus older homes, which most likely the newer have a mortgage against them, and many of those folks probably do have a escrow account with it. But I'm just curious, is there a way that we would know that?
I would ask either Councilmember Bailey or Ben, can the county provide that information?
Yeah, so tomorrow, let me talk with there at work and see what we can find out as far as what the percentages of those that are escrowed versus those that are paid. The other question, though, still, even on the escrow ones, are going to be if the county or the state does look at doing any sort of postponement or delayed interest, I would imagine those escrow companies could be taking advantage of that as well. So that could have an impact on what's received.
Okay, I'm just curious if that would give us any type of effect, or at least even help us forecast anything where there's delayed payments to us from the property taxes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Question.
It looks like we have nothing else, so if it would be appropriate, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. And Brandy?
Oh, I was just going to say that I'm looking at
Do
the
you want a
bank
second?
statements.
And then,
Oh, I have a second. I'll second
Okay.
your motion to
And-
adjourn.
and then go ahead with your comment.
I was just going to say that looking at the bank statements daily, we are starting to see some of the property tax revenues coming in from the escrow companies. So,
Great.
All right. With that,
And I apologize. It's Madison here.
yes.
I just wanted to make a comment as well. And I'm sorry, Sean, if my report didn't get to you. I submitted it the other day, but I just wanted to say that Meals on Wheels are still being served right now. So if you know of anybody who needs a meal in the area, hand them over to me.
Can I ask this question? I guess, Madison, are you guys on volunteer wise, or is that, be a good time to pit that right now if you're looking for volunteers, or if you guys already have that covered?
We are always looking for volunteers. Right now, it's kind of at a as needed fill-in basis. We do have all of our routes covered, but if you're willing to maybe be on call per se, then that would be fabulous.
So are those all locally? They're picked up and delivered in Park City?
Correct. They're picked up and delivered in Park City, Valley Center, Keachai, and Bel Air.
Okay, so if somebody was wanting to volunteer and do that, who would they get a hold of and how?
They would call the senior center, either me in my office at 744-1199, or you can reach our meals coordinator at 744-0751.
Great. Very
Yes.
good.
All right. We got a motion and a second. Not seeing any further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes 8-0. Thank you all for your time this evening.